Yeah, I couldn't find Gencho, he's late again, so... What the hell is he doing again? What the hell? Gencho? What the hell are you doing here? I was waiting for you there.
I've been on a long run.
What the hell?
I have to have some sleep. Shit.
I hope you are ready.
Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. This is GenchoMoto, and if you give me 5 minutes to sort myself out, I will show you the Mitsubishi ASX. ASX is a compact crossover that Mitsubishi is bringing in 2010 so they can compete with their rivals Nissan Qashqai and Suzuki Vitara. They started production of the ASX in 2010, as I've already said, and it goes all the way down to 2019. What's interesting about it though is the fact that it had more facelifts than any UK celebrity, one in 2012, one in 2016 and one in 2019, and we'll probably get another facelift until they decide to release the Mark II. Being inside of... What is
You wish.
Man, it's too cold. Right. Coming down to the front end of the car, it looks a bit like a Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution and Mitsubishi Colt, although unfortunately it's not as fast, but it has that aggressive front end that makes the car look so nice. And going down to the side of the car, it does look like a hatchback, but it's a lot more lifted than a normal hatchback and it's slightly bigger, although it's slightly smaller than their rivals Nissan Qashqai. And continuing down to the rear end, it does have that nice sporty hatchback shape with tail lights that have some details from the Mitsubishi Evolution. They are in that round shape with LEDs inside. It looks exactly like a machine gun. Mate, it's cold. And then moving to the wheels, it comes factory with 16-inch alloy wheels, but we do have the black edition as well that comes with 17-inch black alloys as factory. For the money that you can get a second-hand basic Qashqai, you can get a fully loaded spec Mitsubishi ASX, so it's pretty much a shame that these cars are so depreciated and they don't drive them as much on the UK roads. Suspension wise, on the front we have McPherson, so it's cheap and reliable. Disc brakes at the front, disc brakes at the back. Be careful with them although, because the discs are very easy to bend, so if you do upgrade your discs, that will of course be beneficial. It comes with a front wheel drive or four-wheel drive. Unfortunately, with the petrol model that comes in 2010, which is only one petrol engine from 2010 to 2012, and this is the 1.617 brake horsepower, that is only front wheel drive. And then you have the 1.8 DID 140 brake horsepower, which has the four-wheel drive option that you can get with the model. All the ASXs are coming with this nice and aerodynamical wing with the tail brake light fitted right in the middle. The passenger's windows plus the back window are factory tinted, which is quite nice and handy, especially for the kids, or especially if you're keeping some belongings at the back, so that can prevent thieves for stealing stuff from your car. Boot wise, as you can saw right in the beginning of the video, it's quite massive. We've got our all of our camera equipment here, another bag. Then we've got my dirt bike equipment here, so you can see it's nice and spacious boot. The boot sits nice and flat. It's better than a hatchback because instead of lifting something, you can just pull it straight up, for example, and you just put it back. Also, what's quite nice about the boot space with that crossover is that you press a button here, you pull the seat. This is not broken, this is from the manufacturer, so you can wiggle around the seat belt. You drop it down, and with the press of them two buttons, you have pretty much nice and flat boot space where you can carry a lot of things around. Let's put this back and we'll go to the engine bay because it's quite cold. I do want to go to inside of the car. Fuck it. There we go. When you're opening the front bonnet of a ASX for the first time, please don't have a heart attack. It looks like this engine's been taken from a coat and just slapped onto the ASX. It is very tiny. It has so much room here that I can probably put my extra luggage inside and carry it around when I go on holiday. And to be fair, I can probably even fit myself in. Oh shit. Right, I'm not gonna fit myself in. So if you find that the boot space is not big enough for you, just take your extra bag, slap it in, close upon it, and you're ready to go. I'm only kidding, don't do that, it's not advisory. Your bags can go on fire and you can cause some very, very big issues. Oh my, it's already warm. The first ASXs that are on the market, the ones from 2010 and 2012, you can only choose between two different type of engines. One of them is the 1.6 petrol 117 horsepower MiVec, which is Mitsubishi's own variable valve timing system, and then we've got the 1.8 DID 150 brake horsepower diesel that you can choose with four-wheel drive and front-wheel drive, where with the petrol one, as I've already said, you can only get it as a front-wheel drive. Both engines are pretty economical and if they're well maintained, they can be pretty much quite reliable. The 1.6 benefits from the 1.8 diesel with the fact that the engine is so tiny for the car that you can reach everywhere. Everything's super easy, accessible, especially for maintenance of the car, but that certainly doesn't mean the 1.6 is better than the 1.8. And with the first facelift coming in 2012, the things with the engines are changing quite a bit. We now have a lot more options, and I'm going to start with the petrol engines, which are a normal 1.6 engine with 115 brake horsepower. Then we have the MiVec 1.6 with producing 117 brake horsepower, 1.8 with 140 brake horsepower. Also with the facelift, we now have all-wheel drive system, four-wheel drive system, and the front-wheel drive too. With the second facelift in 2016, Mitsubishi for some reason decided to lower the options available for engines. So we only have 1.6 petrol 117 brake horsepower of the petrol ones, and then diesels are 1.6 DID 114 and 2.2 DID 150, and that only comes with all-wheel drive system. And in the 2019, which is the third facelift model of the car, we now have only petrol engines, and that's only one actually. It's the 2-litre petrol 150 brake horsepower, naturally aspirated. It comes with a CVT gearbox or a 6-speed manual, and we also have all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive to choose from. All the engines are pretty reliable and cheap to maintain. The road tax on them is also quite inexpensive. The 1.6 petrol is only 14 quid a month, and the 1.6 petrol on the motorway can get up to 60 miles per gallon. Down drive, you're looking for about 47 to 48 miles per gallon, depending how you drive, which leads me to the next part, but we're going to talk about it when we go inside the car. Let me show you how the keyless entry works. We have that little button here, so as long as our key is in our pocket, you just press that little button and the car's gonna lock itself automatically. And let's say you're walking to your car, you want to go in and start it, you just press the button again and the car's gonna automatically lock. If you don't press it, you won't be able to unlock the car. And another good thing about it is we have the second key, for example. You just put it on the seat, and then when we try to lock it, it's gonna make this sound. which will indicate that there is an error. So that error might be key in the car, a door not shut properly, the boot not shut properly, or the car is still running. For like under a tenner, you can get this quite cool detailed mats, which are going, they're full kit and they're going around the whole interior, which we're going to do the details. Leather seats, they have that pretty cool ASX logo on them. It makes the car feel a little bit more luxurious. In the fabric ones, we don't have that one. Finally, it's quite warm. Feels like home. Steering wheel is multifunctional. We have our cruise control here, which we turn on, set, and then we can either accelerate or reset or cancel it. Then we have our media controls just on the other side with the mode, which can be standby, tuner, disc. You can choose between iPods, AHA, USBs, AUX. Why do I every time get this wrong? AUX, and all the rest of the crap basically. But I'm gonna show you the media in a second. Then underneath we have 3 buttons, which are for your mobile phone if you have one of them connected. 5 speeds, manual gearboxes in the 1.6. It's quite comfortable, easy, accessible. All the gears are going in quite alright, but we're gonna see that in just a little bit time. Very simple central console, but in the same time very good. On the end of the day, you don't really need that many buttons for everything. Mitsubishi made that very easy for everyone that buys this car. So we have a adjustable climate control, which is unfortunately not digital, but it's very easy to operate. Everything has a little picture, so you can pretty much guess it. Then if you press that one, you turn on the heating of the rear window. It also has an automatic mode, so depending by the temperature, the car decides how to separate the vents, so you can have the same temperature in your legroom or in your front, and in the same time not fogging out the windscreen. Then we have the heating fan speed on the side, which can also be turned on auto, so it decides what's going to be the speed of the fan. And if we press the center button, that is our aircon, and then this is the degrees of what we want the car to be running on. We have the hazard lights button right in the middle here, and 2 lights for the passenger airbags and the passenger seat belt, which reminds me, the minute you go and get into this car, start and drive off, the car automatically starts to beep very horribly. Let me quickly show you. Not even 2 seconds after we're driving, it's already beeping, which is quite nice. You always have to wear seat belts. We have our start button just here on the side. It's quite cool because once we start the car, we have that Mitsubishi Motors logo coming out, and then straight away our information about the car. And we have a little button that says info on it here. You control what you want to see on that little screen with that info button. From there, if you press it a little bit longer, when you're on settings menu, you basically hold it for a little bit longer, and then you can go through all the settings for your car. It's quite nice because I can see it has a coffee sign, so that must be like a break time. So if you set this alarm on 4 hours, the car automatically in about 4 hours time of driving is going to tell you, okay, you need to stop and go for a break. It's going to start beeping. Here on this side of the car, we have 4 buttons. So one of them is for controlling your headlights high. Then we have the traction control. We have the sonar button. So with that sonar button, the car automatically turns into a submarine. This is parking assistance sensors. Some of them have also a rear view camera, so for me it's pointless to have the parking assistance sensors, but not everyone's the same. Some people might prefer it than the camera. And then we have the automatic start and go, or SANG system. So when you press this and you go into a traffic light, say it's red, you go onto neutral, and then you take your foot off the pedal, and the car is gonna shut itself automatically. But the radio, heating, headlights, everything is gonna continue working. I would suggest turn this off every time you start the car, because that means you're using the starter motor a lot more, so you're gonna have to replace it a lot more sooner if you don't use it. It's not a cool system, and some people think you might just store the car. On the side of the doors we have a little button that folds the mirrors. Then we have electric wing mirrors, locking and unlocking of all the doors, and locking the windows, all 4 electric windows. And we have a pocket on the side, which Mitsubishi indicated really smartly for some people. You can only fit bottles, you cannot fit cups, only bottles. It's a sign already, so guys, make sure you follow that. On the side we have a little lever for the front bonnet, and then we have another little lever here that's for the fuel cap at the back. Seat goes back and forwards, that's all manually. You can adjust it to up and down, again that's all manually. And then you have a lever for like backwards and towards. You have a airbag underneath for the leg room, which is quite nice. Thank you Mitsubishi for that. Safety is first, of course. And then we have a side airbag and front airbag in the steering wheel. Then this is like little storage compartment, which is not exactly little. You can fit your phone inside, maybe leave keys or whatsoever. Another cup holder, which is not exactly a cup holder. I've tried it with a bottle. It will only fit a small bottle of water. Anything bigger than that, it's not gonna fit. Another interesting thing is we got a cigarette lighter socket, but we don't have an ashtray. I'm not saying you should smoke in the car, but it's weird from Mitsubishi that they've put a cigarette lighter and not an ashtray. Then we have that little thing here, which I couldn't find out. 2 weeks driving in the car, I couldn't find out what's for. I'll let this for you to find out. Then we have 2 cup holders here. They're okay for cups, they're okay for cans of energy drinks, of coffees, of juice, whatsoever. They're perfectly fine, quite comfortable, right in place. And then we have some of them have heating seats. You might not find out this until you first have to clean your car, because they're right here in a very awkward place. It's actually a lot more easier for me to turn on the passenger one than this one. Here's quite empty space, so I would think if it's gonna be a bit better if they were here. Unfortunately they're not. So turned on low, it lights up in green, and turn on high, it lights up in orange. And we have a quite nice and comfy armrest, which has big storage compartment underneath. And we have a power outlet of 12 volts, a cigarette lighter socket, and then we have your AUX so you can plug in your phones. And then if you pull this off, this is for iPod. With a press of a button, we have another little storage compartment, and this gap here, which again I don't really know what's for. It looks quite funny. And we're meant to have a button here, but it's quite cheaply made, so most of the times it's broken. Glove box, fairly decent size, as you can see. Then you can just, with a key, you can just turn off and off the airbag of the passenger. But we've got the central mirror, which is right in place, and then we have lights here, sun visors with a holder for documents. Once you open this up, a light goes on and you've got your mirror. So spacious, quite a lot of leg room, quite a lot of room in between heads and legs. It keeps you sitting like you're in an SUV. You've got quite high view, and this is with my seat being very lowered, but it has that cool racing position, so you sit right straight forward. Steering wheel can also go up, down, backwards and upwards. Again, it's manual, it's not electronic, so you just press that lever down, and that's how you control it. And we should move to the back. Medias on the basic models, they just have the CD slot, and they're not even digital. They're quite basic, but you can always replace them. The top spec models are supplied with a sat nav from Kenwood that comes from the manufacturer like this. It's not aftermarket, even though it looks aftermarket. Sat nav is supported by Garmin, and it works quite alright. It's also touchscreen, so you can scroll over in between. Tuner, you've got the options, audio, Bluetooth, so you can plug your phone with the Bluetooth and then you can listen to music. Then AUX, ASB and all the rest of the stuff. Pretty responsive screen, as you can pretty much see. It's not very slow, it's not very quick either. The media has 6 speakers. They don't sound pretty good unless you adjust them properly, but once you adjust them properly, As in Bulgaria we say, the music is jangır. And then sat nav, you just press it, go to view maps. So here we're gonna have a little indicator on your speed limit in different areas, or you can split the screen into two, so you have the sat nav on one of the sides and then you have your Bluetooth or whatever you've pretty much playing at the minute, and then you can just turn it off. We go to menu, pretty easy to navigate and control. But if you're not a massive fan of the touchscreen, you can also control your media from the buttons on the side. Mobile phone in the car, that's controlled by Bluetooth as well, so you pair your phone with the media inside, and when somebody rings you, you can pick up from the media. The microphone is just here. Again, it looks aftermarket fitted, but it's not. This is actually coming from the manufacturer itself. So with all of that being said, let's move to the back, see how the back fit feels, and then we're gonna go to the driving part. In the back, it's pretty basic and cheap. We don't have pockets on the side of the doors, but we do have two speakers, so that's why probably we don't have the pockets. Then we have the buttons for our windows. We have a little hanger for our clothes, obviously handles as well, a little light. And then we have a bit of storage in the seats. Again, as I said in previous videos, don't use them because they get really saggy and they're bad. I reckon 3 people can fit very easy. And a massive plus for the ASX is because the seats are fitted quite high, you have a lot of leg room. Even if the seat is right backwards, you still have a lot of leg room underneath. As you can see, I can proper stretch myself. So this is quite nice and comfy from Mitsubishi. I have to say, well done. See, we've got red car mats. That stands for racing, of course. And we have a little armrest in the central with 2 cup holders. So if there's 2 people just sitting at the back, that's perfectly comfortable. And another funny thing is that they don't have any cover in between the rear seats and the boot. So if you've got somebody that you just kidnapped and he suddenly goes away, you can take off the armrest, smack him like once or twice. With all of that being said, let's move back to the front and we can go for a drive. Are you fucking serious? You turn on the child control again. Can you open the door for me, please? Child control on ASXs are come in a standard. There we go. And let's go for a drive. Been inside of the car already. I have to say the car drives very soft. The suspension is quite nice, especially on 16-inch wheels with thick tires. They're on, I think, 65 height. Drives very comfy. You can of course put 17 or 18-inch wheels, but that's only if you're planning to drive the car city or motorway mainly. Again, you have a 4x4 which is pretty reliable and it can go off the track. Ooh, what's that? They were shooting some cameras. Yes, it's not an off-roader. Don't expect to go off-road, you know, some heavy tracks or whatsoever, but for the field, you go camping into the woods or light tracks, it will do just fine. Sat-nav zone already, we've set the destination. I have to say, for me personally, really annoying. We have the speed limit, so every time you go over it, it just beeps, and the sound of the lady that speaks, it's absolutely horrible. At least, again, only from my point of view. There we go, we're stopping. The automatic start and go is on. The car just shut off the engine. Everything else, as you can see, is working. It says ASNG on the screen. So once we put our foot on the clutch, the car automatically starts. We don't have to press any buttons and we just go. Steering wheel feels alright, nice touch. And now you can see the intense motion of Mitsubishi. So if you just look at the speedo, we have the shift arrow in there. So that indicates that we need to upshift. It's quite weird one because you're literally driving with 1,500 RPM and it tells you to go into 5th gear. But the car doesn't jerk or it doesn't stall, so it is pretty good. We can literally shift between 1,500 and 2,000 RPM, and the car is still gonna be able to pull off once you put your foot on the gas. Gears, they're going in quite smooth. They're short as well. You don't need to do long moves. Very, very easy. What I like about the steering rack is that it's very light when you're parking or when you're driving with low miles, like 10 to 20 miles. And the quicker you go, the stiffer the steering wheel gets. So it just gives you that nice sport feeling. And then the light wheel when you're parking feels exactly like the city mode of the Fiat Puntos, for example. Unfortunately, not all cars are perfect, and as you get pluses, you'll get minuses as well. The minus in this car is that the self-isolation inside is not great. You can hear the wind noise. Of course, we can eliminate the wind noise by playing the jungle music or any other music you like. Another thing that I don't like about it is that you cannot flash with high beams just so you can let, for example, somebody to pass on the road. You have to either switch them and then switch them off with your hand. And also the wipers, the automatic wipers, sometimes they move way too quick or way too slow, depending what's the rain, which is not great. Apart from that, very, very good. Brakes are okay. They're very sharp, so you can stop in no time. It's not fast car, I have to say. The 1.6 is perfect for the town. It's not nippy, accelerates smoothly. So again, quite alright, very economical. So at the minute we're driving in 5th gear, 40 miles an hour with 1,500 RPM, and this is giving us just over 44 miles per gallon. So not too bad for a 1.6. Mirrors, side mirrors are very big. So again, very big plus for the car. You can pretty easily see what's going on behind you. Heated seats, we've turned them on. They work absolutely fine with them. As I said, not much of a body roll of the car, even though everyone's complaining about that. When you want to go and have a look at one of them, a very good indicator for front end accident in the car is look at the rubber seal in between the bumper and the front bonnet. That will tell you straight away if the car has been smashed, because everything there is so tight. When you look at the plastics into the engine bay, don't worry if there's like plastic pins missing. There are just so many next to each other. The holes underneath the trims, they're quite big, so you can easily lose them when you're servicing the car. Another thing that I've sort of vaguely mentioned was the brake discs. They're not that good quality, the original ones, so they can easily bend, especially if you're trying to drive the car a little bit harder than normal. It is quite big inside, it's alright, smaller than the Nissan Qashqai, and to be fair, I couldn't find any reason why the car is so underrated. Like, it doesn't have many major issues with the years, with the miles, and you can get a full spec model for the same price that you can get a basic Qashqai from the same year. Of course, the Qashqai offers slightly more different range of engines. Some of them are a little bit more economical than this one, and maybe because the Mitsubishi ASX is the first crossover and is slightly cheaper than the Outlander, some people might want to choose and get the Outlander instead. But again, I personally think it's a quite a nice car that is cheap to maintain. Don't expect the petrol engine to be fast. The 1.8 DID, reliable engine with 150 brake horsepower and quite a lot of torque. This is decent if you're looking to drive the car a little bit more aggressively. Some of the other common issues with the car, the ones that are first built, are the brake pedal sometimes sticks. There is a recall for that actually, and requires a new brake booster. Then another common issue that I can think of now was the engine on the cars built in 2010 to 2011. It just stalls, so it needs reprogramming of the ECU. Another very common issue about the ASX, which is nothing really major, is the gas studs on the tailgate. They can deteriorate, get corrosion, and then they just snap off. So they need replacements, but I think that's already sorted. You also need to check when you're buying the car, because as I said, there is also a four-wheel drive check for underbody damage, because you never know if the car's been in the water, if it's been in a lake, or it's been driven off the road and may hit a rock underneath, maybe like a little stop a tree. So that's always good to check. Another thing that I've just remembered actually is check if the catalytic converter is in a good condition, because if you have to replace the catalytic converter, you need to replace the whole system, and that's very expensive. I know a guy that did it and he had to pay 2 grand, because Mitsubishi still doesn't have an aftermarket catalytic converter for the model. Apart from that, the other checkings that you need to do is basically when you see the steering wheel that's worn, it is normal even on a car 60k on clock. It's just poorly made. Plastics all around are very scratchable, so that is again another sign of use, but it's nothing that you have to basically be afraid of. Also, other things that you need to check is just normal genuine things like has the car has any body damage, any gaps in between, has it been involved in an accident. You can easily do that by doing an HPI check, and if I'm spending 5 grand on a car, for example, I will definitely do an HPI check. So when you're looking at one of them, make sure you do an HPI check before you leave. It's only like around, I think it was about 15 quid, so you have nothing to lose. Apart from that, pretty decent model, I would say, pretty cheap for what you get as extras. As I said, heating seats, quite nice. And I definitely think that the Mitsubishi ASX looks much better from the Nissan Qashqai in the same year. For example, like 2010 Qashqai looks worse than Mitsubishi ASX from 2010. It just looks a lot more sharper, edgy and sporty. Price range of these cars, it's somewhere around 3 to 9 grand for the examples from 2010 to 2016. The 2016, which is the second facelift of the car, and then the 2019. I'm not gonna say a price simply because we've not done any research on them. There's not that much information on them for their common issues, because they've not covered that much mileage yet. So we're only setting the price for the ones between 2010 and 2016. And for a decent example, you're looking to spend on a 2010-2012 model, you're looking to spend about 5.5, 6 grand. Again, all depends by mileage. As I've said in previous videos, it's all about mileage, service history, how the car has been maintained, any previous incident records in as extra. But a decent example on average mileage, it's around 5.5 grand. 2012, 2013 and 14, now you're looking to pay around 7.5, 8 grand, which is still a good amount. I'm talking for top spec models as well. Basic model in a decent condition is going to cost you around 4.5 grand. So for extra grand, you get all the extras like sat nav with Garmin system, start, stop and go, automatic one, heated leather seats, which are much more comfier and much more easier to clean as well if you have kids, which you probably might have if you're looking for a crossover. Plenty of storage for the pram, plenty of storage for the kids at the back. The car is very simply made, like interior wise, very easy for everything to control. You don't have plenty of buttons. Headlights are great, as I said. So choosing between a basic Nissan Qashqai and fully spec ASX, I'll probably go for the ASX, not only because it's fully spec, because I like the shape better personally. For me, it's more sharper, more sportier, and I personally think it looks like a sporty buffed hot hatch. That's all from today. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. We enjoyed it, we enjoyed making it. So if you like it, please hit the like button, put a comment below, subscribe and share so you can see more of them great videos. Thank you. Just warm myself up a little bit.
Okay, go, we can climb the wall.
Huh?
You're ready.
Fuck is that? Looks like fucking puke.